Yo, pull up a chair, let the real talk begin. Faith on the table where the brothers lock in. Life gets heavy, but we stand our ground. Truth in the room when the circle comes round. No mask, no front, just real man here. Talking about faith through the doubt and the fear. From the grind of the week to the lessons we share. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair. Men's round table series, step inside. Real men, real faith where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the men's round table, pull up a chair.
Welcome back to the Men's Roundtable Series Interview Spotlight. I'm your host, Mr. U. Wherever you are and have you watching this show, thanks for making us part of your week. We're live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube as we speak. And of course, as customary, if you have a question for my guests or myself, drop it in the comment or chat where you see in this episode. We're happy to answer those questions on air as they come through. Most of you guys already are aware of it, but I have to say it every time so we get accustomed to it. The Men's Roundtable Series podcast is also a roundtable separate standalone broadcast every Thursday night, 7 p.m. EST. We have a bunch of rotating panelists from around the country who are coming in to that safe space that we created to talk about men's issues. Not much is off the table when it comes to these men. So what we're going to do is today is a very special treat. One of my friends and good buddies of mine, who's been a regular on the roundtables on Thursday since we started doing it, since it was a monthly show. He was always there from the very beginning. So we're bringing him in. He's a men's relationship coach, personal development coach, podcaster like myself, and devoted husband and father of 3, I believe it is. Might be 2. Might have messed up. David Brent Dowlen in the house. What's up, brother? Good to see you, man.
What's up, man? It's good to be here, brother. I only have 2. I only have 2.
All right. Well, maybe I was prophesying. All right. So, but good to see you, man. Your daughters are beautiful, by the way. I know there's 2 girls at least. I knew that much. But all right. So on this show, we kind of just get into usually with time crunched. So we just talk about the things that kind of is going on from a male perspective. I would love to hear about why you decided. I mean, in my mind, it might sound simple to everybody else. Oh, he started talking about men stuff because he's a man, duh. But I feel like we can go a little deeper than that. We like we always say on our show, we're a lot more complex than that. So why'd you decide to start creating men's content? You didn't have to do that. You could just post up on social media and talk to your male buddies. You didn't have to create content. Why'd you start doing that?
Oh man, I feel like I've told you this story, I think, when we talked before, but for all of the people who are meeting us for the first time, I started writing a book like 6 years ago. I still have not finished the book, by the way, just full disclosure before you ask. But I started writing a book, like that was the origin of The Fallible Man. It was going to be a book. And I got like 130 pages into it and started looking into, I started looking into self-publishing and realized if anybody other than my wife and my mother were ever going to read it, I had to like start to get myself out there, because there are a lot of books published every year and a lot of them never get read. And I thought, well, I'm not going to write all this down if like just for me. It is a process, because like you learn a lot about yourself and you learn as much writing the book, I think, honestly, talking to all the authors I've spoken to over the years. But I started writing this book because I had a bunch of women in my life actually ask me to write a book for women, helping them understand their boyfriends and husbands. And this was before the term mansplaining existed, but like all the warning bells went off in my head regardless. I was like,
that sounds like a trap.
Right? Yeah, that sounds dangerous. But I started thinking about it. It's like, okay, well, what can I do? I don't want to do that because that's going to end badly, but what can I do? And so I started thinking, well, maybe I can help men learn to connect with the rest of the people in their lives. And originally it started primarily as looking at helping men connect with their loved ones more, right? Specifically their spouses, their kids. But it grew into, is like, well, if we're helping them already fix that, like you said, we're more complicated. We're not 2-dimensional. And so we had to start dealing with other issues as well, because it's not there's not a 1-2 punch. Like, bam, I can make your relationship perfect now without helping you
Yeah.
with some other underlying issues in your life, right? And the more I dug into that, the more I started thinking, it's like, man, there's just not a lot of people out there helping men right now. And like, we're the worst audience in the world. I told my wife I was going to start doing this, and she's like, could you pick a harder audience? Like, did you aim for like the most unreachable audience you could find? I was like, well, no, because we don't like to be told what to do. No man wants to have some other guy tell him what to do.
Tell me about it.
So yeah, that was the beginning of the rabbit trail, brother, and that was like spring. That whole thing started spring 2020, and we launched our first shows, the first 10 episodes of my original podcast, which was the Fallible Man podcast, now the Driven to Thrive broadcast, 402 episodes ago now. Those first 10 episodes dropped September 1st, 2020. And I've been doing this ever since.
This is quite a journey, man. We can talk about the podcast part too. Maybe we can try to find a way to get back to that. But, there's so many little key words, not just from your bio, but just from our conversations. And it's been, we go into years of almost talking about misalignment, owning the role that we have without all the guilt and the shame attached to it and everything. And just trying to learn how to be relational, which is something that men struggle with so much. Even though I may know the answer, we're speaking to an audience of men who haven't got a chance and the pleasure of meeting you yet. What would you say is, if you had to pick one challenge that just like, I'm still working on this one. This one, I thought I'd be on 10 right now. I'm still kind of on 3, trying to work it out. I'm moving. I'm not on 2. I'm not sitting still, but I'm moving, but I'm not quite on 10 yet. I'm trying to get there. What's that challenge? Is it a relational challenge? Is it an isolation? Avoiding isolation? Is it an alignment of values? What is it that's the biggest challenge for you specifically right now, Brent?
Me personally?
Yeah.
My biggest issue is asking for help. I've always been so independent. We grew up moving a lot. Like my father was a domestic missionary, and we moved every 3 years most of my life. It wasn't until I settled where I'm at now that I've ever stayed anywhere longer than 3 years in my whole life. And with that, right, you say goodbye a lot, and people come and go a lot. And so you learn to be really fiercely independent because you're always starting over again somewhere. And the only people you really got to rely on when you're doing that is, military families understand this one really well. It's you. You got you and you got your family, and that's what you can count on. With military families, at least you got some structure that, military bases are going to be military bases and the rules are going to be the same. But being a domestic missionaries kid, like I've lived all over the country, and it was always us starting over. So I just became fiercely independent and have real issues trusting other people to help me or to even think about asking for help because I've just always had to do it.
Let's turn this into a game show.
Uh-oh.
Let's say we had wifey in here. You got the earphones in or the earplugs, so you can't hear her response.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked the same question I just asked you. Is she going to say the same answer?
It's going to be close.
Okay.
Sarah will tell you that I will carry the world's weight on my shoulders to the point where I will just grind into the ground no matter what. I'm that guy that's just like, okay, yeah, I'll take care of that. Oh yeah, I'll take care of that, right? Because I don't trust anybody else to get it done, and I don't let people in easily. And so I just take on more and more and more. So it's somewhere between not asking for help because I don't, and I just feel like I have to carry it all. If you ask my wife, I feel confident in that answer after 25 years. So
yeah, congratulations, man. 25 plus years and 2 daughters You definitely are. You care about shaping relationships. That's fairly obvious. I know how devoted you are to them, and the whole hashtag girl dad thing. You're doing it. You're living it out. One of the things that I would love to ask you about. We've been talking about it, and don't feel funny about having to repeat it because a lot of people hear this for the first time. Even to some degree, I'm hearing some things for the first time too. But we're spending all of this month and all of next month on the round talking about mental health. You're very vocal about men's mental health. I love to hear why it's so important to you and why you feel so strongly about it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely. You're right. I am fiercely an advocate on men's mental health, and it's partially because it stems from that exact issue of I don't ask for help. Consequently, is that the right word? Because I don't ask for help, and I've always felt like I had to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders. I've had some really nasty bouts with men's mental health. Personally, I've attempted suicide twice in my life. Maybe 3 times. I have to throw the qualifiers on that. In my younger years, I just got into some bad headspace and then some bad situations, and there was no out, there was nowhere to go, and I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel, and I felt so utterly alone, and I knew I got myself there that I just didn't see a way out. And so I've been on that precipice multiple times. I've survived that precipice. I have scars on my wrist, where I was actually subconsciously cutting my wrist. I did not know I was doing it at the time. Like I was playing with a knife and someone stopped me because I was starting to bleed and I had no idea I was actually doing it. I was just talking to somebody at the time. And so I've dealt with that, and then anxiety and depression. I have crowd issues with large crowds, anxiety. If I go sit at a place, like even at my church, right? I've gone to the same church for the last, 14 years, 15 years. And even at church, I sit at a cross section of 4 aisles because I have to have the space around me because I need the extra space so I can move, so I don't feel trapped. I don't go to concerts. I live next to one of the largest concert venues in the Pacific Northwest. The Gorge Amphitheater is 10 miles down the road. I've never been to a concert there in almost 20 years of being here because I just can't handle the crowds. And so I struggle with that. And like I said, bouts of depression over the years. So I have struggled with it. And I've had some wonderful people, my wife being one of them, who has been through the ups and downs and the goods and bads. She was there when not physically, but she was there with me when I tried to kill myself at one point. It was talking to her on the phone for hours and hours and hours that talked me down. And that was back when we were engaged. We were on opposite sides of the country. I was in the military at the time. She didn't have to stay with me, but she chose to. Seeing the depth of the ugliness that was possible at that point. And so it was people in my life that walked me off those ledges and that I'm still here with. And because I've been down that and lived through it, I've been in the darkness more than once. I feel very compelled, like it's something I need to, that I need to champion, because once you've been to the darkness and come back, you can't help but want to bring other brothers home.
So I mean, no, that's profound and poignant, and you always are. That's why we started the show in the first place, because of a guy on a bridge. Started the show. It wasn't because I wanted to have more likes and go toe to toe with analytics. None of that stuff is true. It's because of the guy on the bridge. So I can definitely relate to this. You also talk about something I think is healthy. important for men to deal with, and that's the health and fitness journey. I believe you're a former personal trainer. You have so many injuries and such, but I still believe that you are still concerned about that life and that discipline. Talk to me a little bit about that real briefly before we move on about that.
Men, the first thing we let go is our health. As a man, that is the easiest place we find time to do all the other things we feel like we have to, is we let that personal health go. We stop eating well, we stop exercising, we stop doing anything but working our asses off. And so you hit the nail on the head. I got into it. Like, I started exercising. I started going to the gym when I was 11 years old. My dad would take me to the YMCA, and he wasn't big into weight training, but he knew I was interested in it. So he'd take me to the YMCA so I could lift weights. And I learned from the old guys there. So I started learning to lift weights from the old guys at the gym, right? I started picking up boxing from a former Golden Glovers who was worked out there at the gym. He let me use his gloves, and he'd teach me how to hit the bag right and stuff. But I started lifting in junior high, and I just became obsessed with, who is it? Oh God, one of the big philosophers said that, it's a shame for a man to go through life without seeing what he's physically capable of, without actually reaching that peak. And that always stuck with me. And so first I started exercising because I loved it. It was a good place to exercise my demons. It was a good place to face down those frustrations. I had a lot of anger as a kid when moving around a lot. I got picked on because I was the fat kid, and when I was younger, before I hit my growth spurts. And so it gave me a place to vent. It gave me a place to channel that aggression constructively. And then over the years, as I lifted more and more, I started racking up some injuries, and it saved me. It's the reason I can still walk. I've broken my spine twice now. Once in a freak accident, I fell 20 feet and landed on a bunch of church pews and fractured my skull and my spine. Spent a couple of days at the ICU, and the bone didn't move. It's the only reason I can walk. But the way it fractured, if it doesn't hold itself in place the way it's supposed to. And so if the muscle around that part of my spine deteriorates, it starts to slip and actually cuts off the feeling of my legs. Wow. I've woken up and not been able to walk before. And I haven't been exercising enough. So literally deadlifting keeps me walking. And then I broke my neck. I went down with 600 pounds on my back at the gym and fractured my C5 vertebrae back in 2020. Interestingly enough, it was a big year. So it's going to the gym, is lifting heavy weights. And I mean, I lean into really heavy. I've tried all the different fitness things. I've coached all the different fitness things, but it's lifting heavy is what actually makes me able to function after multiple injuries. So I live in it, and I love it. And I love helping other people. Those are my favorite clients. I like the people who actually have injuries they're trying to recover from. Those are my favorite clients.
Oh, I love that, man. I'm glad that you were able to move past the injury, because some folks get there and they don't get out. So you're very privileged to be able to do that and still focus on your health. I want to end our show with talking about something that you and I love and enjoy, and that's podcasting, man. The Driven to Thrive broadcasts. I think I was on a couple of your shows, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing. I mean, beside the professional speaking, and I believe you and your wife had a foundation together, the Fallible Man LLC, I think it was, that you guys built together. I think
that's our company. That's our home company.
Yeah, I love what you're doing with the with Driven to Thrive. I've always felt like it was different than Dad had, in my opinion. I would even go as far as say it was different than Fallible Man to me. It just felt like it. I don't want to spend too much time not talking, because it's not good for radio or podcasting. It just feels like it was something regal and majestic. if that's the right word for the Driven to Thrive. It was like I was expecting some warrior music and just some war drums and horns and you know, the gallantry of it all. You just feel like that broadcast has that kind of feel. Talk to us about Driven to Thrive so you can kind of help me get off this meds that I'm on right now. Driven to Thrive broadcast. Talk to us about that real quick.
I'm not sure anybody's ever used the word regal to describe anything I'm doing, but you know, that's the first time I have to like clip that later just to prove that somebody ever actually said that.
I said I stand behind it. Go ahead.
The Driven to Thrive broadcast was a rebranding. I got deplatformed in 2024 from my original show. Took a massive hit, went from being in the top 1% of indie podcasts in the world and basically started over. And like that was hard. You know, you get really invested in something, you do hundreds of episodes. It's really like it was like losing a friend when that happened. And I almost gave up podcasting. But I limped it along for a while. I almost walked away. I had some friends talk me out of it. And at the beginning of 2025, we rebranded. I was like, okay, I need kind of a new facelift. The core of the show did not change, but it's like, okay, I need a slightly new change because everybody, when I would explain the Fallible Man as a title, they'd be like, oh, that's cool. But that's the problem is I got to explain it. And as you know,
just a little bit.
Right. When you're scrolling through podcasts, that's not going to happen. No one's slowing down for that. They don't know what your podcast is. And so we rebranded at the beginning of 2025. I took 2 months off. It's the first time I'd taken off in years. And we rebranded to the Driven to Thrive because it really still contained the heart of the original show with a new title. And we made some programming changes. I went down from 2 shows a week to 1 show a week. But we also started tying it back into, I've always compartmentalized things in my life. And I decided it was time to kind of knock some of that off. So I started bringing in more of my faith into the show. I'm a Christian and it's core. I used to be a minister. My father was a minister. It's a very core part of who I am. But I also subscribe to a lot of the Stoic philosophies. And so I started tying in more intimate parts of me into the philosophy of the show and the way we talk about things and present things. I'm also obsessed with brain science. Like I'm obviously, not Andrew Huberman. I'm not a neurologist or anything, but I love to study that stuff. And I'm fascinated by how it all works. And so we started tying in all these things that kind of make up the way my brain works and the way I attack the world and bringing it into the show actually. So when you come to my show, you'll find a lot of almost every major talking point. I back it up either with 1 to 2 of those things. We get into the neurology of it. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
The brain science of it, right? We get into the brain science of it and the biblical foundation for it are the Stoic principles of it, or, and we use those bases because that's really me. That's how my brain works. Those are the things that I relate life through, the lenses I look through. And so I made it more personal than the original show instead of just trying to teach, because I've always been a teacher. That's my background. That's my history. I've always been the trainer or the teacher, whatever role I'm in. And I wanted the show to become more personal. I wanted to actually put more of just the raw me into it. So I make some of the jokes that I wouldn't have made before. I use some of the points. I've always kept everything to the side because it's not a faith-based show per se. I'm a faith-based individual doing a show, and I had worked to keep that separately. And so while we're still not a faith-based show, I don't keep my faith out of the show now actively. And I've grown to love the new format. We just released a new show earlier today.
Congrats, brother.
And I've really it feels more connected to me at this point. I've gotten, I got to that blah portion where, you're doing the show just because you put it in the show and you're like, but you don't really love it as much for a while. And, rebranding and going this direction has been good for me. We had to pause the show at the beginning of this year for a couple months, do some business changes in my business, but we're back on back on track. We just celebrated our 400th episode 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I'm loving doing the show again. And hopefully the show has always been, I've never wanted to be famous. Of all the oddities, right? I'm on social media, I'm on YouTube. I never have wanted to be famous in my life. Like I passed up chances to go to college for stage theater. I had a full ride scholarship. I had a shot at Juilliard for technical theater. I never wanted to be the guy on the stage. I loved being the guy behind the curtain, making the magic that made everybody else be able to believe what they saw on stage. Right. And so ending up on YouTube, I want to do the audio podcast. I started doing YouTube just because I thought, well, I can turn on a camera. Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
But I never wanted to be famous. I still don't want to be famous. I want to go to the end of my days knowing that I did my very best to help other people live their best lives.
You led me to my last question for you for the day. So fantastic segue. Minds think alike. So tell me this. I feel like you already are you're already 0.5 miles from fame with this new venture that you're in right now.
Yeah.
However, I'll let you off the hook and we won't put the heat on you regarding that. But I'd love for you to end our broadcast. We just have to kind of let everybody know that's watching and listening how you feel like you changed most through this new journey that you're on with Quincy and everything. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that real quick.
Okay, so the segue into my new business. We've moved the business, and I do news now. I'm actually a registered member of the United States Press Association. I have a morning daily news podcast for my local community and a website where we run news stories. I was just wrapping up a story right before I jumped on here. I literally just got a phone call from a friend of mine thanking me for one of my stories because it actually pushed some county people into action to solve some problems. So I'm feeling myself right now because I put a little heat on. It's like, that's what journalism is supposed to be, right? It's supposed to add transparency. It's supposed to help people stay accountable through transparency. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make my community a better place because we have a whole lot going on in our small community, but like the communication platforms here, it's just non-existence. It's actually, I've talked to the city officials and stuff like that. It's a major problem in our area. And so we're still doing my other shows. I just moved my desire to help make people's lives better and got much more locally focused. That's always been one of the things that's been difficult with my other podcast is I've never found a way. I tried to do a couple conferences. I've never been very successful at bringing the work we were doing online with men home. And so it's a little broader. This is for the entire community. It's not just for men, but I still feel like this is helping our community come together. It's helping us see each other and connect with each other and make our community stronger through being both this information hub and helping people find other things going on in our community and celebrating what's going on. It's putting a lot of there's so much going on. Like one of our girls just broke the high school track record for the 100-meter dash and is going to state.
Wow.
She just did it 12.76 seconds, the 100-meter dash.
12.6?
12.76. Yeah. She just set a new record for our school.
Wow, that's incredible, man.
Yeah. She's heading to state today. But it wasn't long ago in our community, like Facebook is the only way you can find that information. We don't have a newspaper anymore other than digital news I do, and we don't have the other stuff. So, right, I got to share that today, and I feel really blessed that I got to share that with our community because she should get her moment to shine, right? She did something huge, and we're a big sports community anyway, and so people should know about that, right? And now she gets to shine a little bit more. She gets to be seen a little bit more, right? And it makes people proud of our community. And so that's the biggest change is I went from primarily focused with men, and I'm still doing my shows we're just trying to bring our local community together, because really, if I can start that at home, right, that's still a huge win. We're still impacting lives in a positive way. And some people may not see news media that way, but honest news that's just reporting news and not trying to shape stories or tell people what to do or, what to think or believe, it is becoming a rarity. We're going to have to go to independent journalists for that these days.
Absolutely.
So we got a lot going on in our community. Every community does. And I looked up the stats, right? On average, any given community. So in your community where you live, on average, less than 10% of the population knows about any given event. So whether it's a school event or a church event or anything going on in your community, still the fact is only 10% of the people in your community know it's actually happening, if that.
As you said.
So
Wow.
Trying to change that conversation.
Yeah, I think you're doing that. I love what you said about, the men's work you're doing and just kind of feeling like, it's not getting across. Well, I really, really hope that the men work you're doing, and I even selfishly want that for myself, because I started this for the right reasons. I'm sure you did too with what you're doing, and we're helping each other in ways to help promote that. I really hope that the men that are watching and listening can get past all of the other stuff, all the ego and all of the other stuff, and recognize, there's two men on this screen right now who legitimately care about you as a species and want to see you grow and change and be the husbands, fathers, brothers, and sons that God created you to be. So I'm honored to know you, brother, honored to have you on this platform, and I'm so grateful that you decided to be a part of this and to even be on this spotlight today, man. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. For those that are watching and listening, the purpose-drivenmen.com is where you can, if you listen to this show or watching it, you can find Brent and his work, purpose-drivenmen, no spaces.com. Be better tomorrow because of what you do today. That's his motto. He lives by it, and we all should. Thanks again for doing this and for being a part of the conversation and for watching and listening wherever you are and however you're doing that. That's David Brent Dowling. I'm Mr. U, and this is the Men's Roundtable Series Interview Spotlight. Thanks for watching and listening. Look forward to hearing from you.
Men's Roundtable Series, step inside. Real men, real faith, where the truths collide. Voices at the table where the stories get shared. Welcome to the Men's Roundtable, pull up a chair.